Hello, and welcome to another episode of CGN Live. Apologize for the delay. Lighting's gonna be a little wonky, isn't it? I just have to put the microphone up here. Let me see here. All right. Hello. Welcome to CGN Live. My name is Taylor. Let me okay. Let me wait for a few people to come in here. Go and share this across some social media and whatnot. Let me see here. Add to story. If you're in the chat, say hello as I get this ready. Dun, 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 dun. All right, get that going here. If you're in the chat, say hello. Twitter. So make sure everybody knows that we are live. Then, cheap graphic novels. Not alone anymore. Thank you, Rodimus Prime. I know I was waiting for some people to come in. I did have the show time a little bit later this time, because Near My Condition was going live today. And how's everything going? Great. Near My Condition was just going live just now with some epic announcements. I think they might still be live, actually. So I am competing with the giant that is Omar and Curtis. They do a great job over there, though. But they just announced some epic collections that will be coming out next summer. So you will see those on this channel in quite, sometime next year, I guess. And yes, but now that Rodimus Prime has joined me, we can start the show. My name is Taylor of Taylor Talks Comics. I am the social media guy for Cheap Graphic Novels. I see a couple more people joining in. Say hello, drop a line. I do all the social media for Cheap Graphic Novels, including writing the newsletter, the weekly newsletter that comes out. You can subscribe. And every week we go live, typically at noon on Thursdays. We went, like I said just now, we went a little bit later today. But typically at noon on Thursdays we go weekly once. We go live once a week is what I'm trying to say, to cover the books and graphic novels that are coming out next week. So all the books we talk about today will be on the website, ready to purchase Monday evening, which I believe is the 25th. Yeah, not the 25th. What is it? We're right. The 22nd. Is that right? The 22nd. Monday the 22nd is when these will be on sale on cheapgraphicnovels.com. And every Monday night is when the new books go live. We're flying through May already. I can't believe it. This year's just flying by. But yes, we also have a Nick and Dent sale going on right now. I want to make sure you guys are aware. The Nick and Dent sale are just books that might have a few nicks and dents, as you can imagine from the title. Things that maybe we got damaged or something or what have you, and they're sold at discounted prices. I think we have them up to 90% off, but a lot of them are like 50, 60, 70% off. And there's a lot of great books in there still too. So make sure you check that out. I'll show it on the website here once I get to it. And follow us on social media, Twitter and Instagram at CheapGN. And on Facebook, you can just search for Cheap Graphic Novels. I'm also here to answer. Hey, Juan, what's up, man? I saw the Miami Heat won last night. I'm sure you're excited about that. I don't have a dog in the race at this point, but I do hope that the Celtics and Lakers don't make it. So I guess I'm rooting with you. yeah, so what was I saying? Oh, the Nick and Dent sale, books coming out next week. Oh yeah, I'm here to answer any of your questions. So if you have any questions about cheap graphic novels or about what we have in stock, then I can answer those questions for you on the air. I won't be able to answer anything specific about like your order, like where are your books or anything like that. I'm actually not located where Cheap Graphic Novels warehouse is, but yes, go Heat. Yes. I guess by proxy, I'm rooting for the Heat and Nuggets. I don't know. But yeah, so go Heat. Jimmy Butler, man, he's been tearing it up in the playoffs. All right, so let's get to the website here. I'll show off what that looks like. Here we go. So if you're not familiar with the Cheap Graphic Novels website, this is what it looks like. Let me change our view here. There we go. This is what it looks like. This is the front page. If you scroll down all the way to the bottom here, this is where you can subscribe to the newsletter. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you do that. You don't want to miss out on any of the announcements, because not only do we do a weekly newsletter. Oh, geez, sorry. I was trying to set up my second screen there. There we go. So if you're not already subscribed, make sure we do that, because we don't just do the weekly newsletter, but we also send out email blasts whenever we have a sale or anything going on. So like the Nick and Dent sale, the minute that went live, we sent out an email for it. So you will get the first jump on any sort of sales and whatnot if you subscribe to the newsletter. And if you go up here to the top on the scrolling banner, you'll see May catalog pre-orders are still live. And then the Nick and Dent sale, that's when you click on that if you want to look at those books. And then oh, I guess next week's not on there. They're right here. So if you click on this new releases, this banner right here, you'll get the last 6 weeks of releases on here. We're going to be looking at next week. So I'll click on that. I'm going to populate it price high to low and then scroll on here. Let me see. Last time I bought a book off the Nick and Dent sale is practically new, except for a light corner ding. Yeah, I've bought stuff from the Nick and Dent sale before too, with cheap graphic novels. I think that was actually some of my first purchases with CGN a few years ago. Was when I noticed they had a Nick and Dent sale. And I'm not like super precious about my books. Like I want them to look nice and whatnot. But if it has like a corner ding or something like that, like I'm not that fussed with it. But yeah, usually it's like very light damage, if no damage at all. Even sometimes you have to like really search for the damage, but no guarantee on that. I don't want anybody to get a book that it's up to everybody's opinion. I don't want anybody to get a book that's a little bit more damaged than they expected, and them to come upset get upset with me or anything like that. But I'm not super precious with my books, like I said, and I've never been disappointed with CGN's Nick and Dent sales. Like I said, that was my first order like 3 or 4 years ago with CGN, was a Nick and Dent sale. And then every time they have a Nick and Dent sale, I usually pick up a few books. It's a good way to pad out your shelves if you're for some of those books that you maybe didn't want to pay even the CGN prices for, but you wanted to try them out, kind of thing. Or maybe there's like a long line of a certain collection that you're trying to pick up a few volumes on, like that. Those kinds of things are what they're best used for, if you will. And I could go over the Nick and Dent sale if you guys want me to. I can scope that out. I think there are like 500 plus titles there, and I think max there's over 2,000 books. So a lot of those books have multiple copies, but there's no listing of how many copies on each. But I can go over those if you guys want me to. Up first, we have the Spider-Man 2099 Omnibus Volume 1 with 2 different covers. This has been hotly anticipated, and it got pushed back quite a bit. I think it was due out originally last October, if I remember. So it's getting pushed back, but it's definitely coming out next week. Omar of Near Make Edition has had his review copy in hand for quite a bit, and he'll have an overview of it over on Near Make Edition next week. Which, full disclosure, I do social media for Omar too on Near Make Edition, so I do some social media for both. And CGN sponsors Omar, so there's kind of a nice synergy there. That's why I bring up Omar quite a bit. I think he is the best source for collected editions that are coming out, like news, like dropping news, and especially Marvel, because he has quite the connection with David Gabriel, who's in charge of all the collected editions of Marvel. Omar is like Marvel sponsors Omar and gives him all the news to break for Marvel collected editions. Like he's like the first source to break it over any other website. So that's why I always bring him up. But yes, he already has us in hand, and he'll have an overview next week. Hello, hey Richard. I don't know if I've recognized your name. I think is this your first time joining us live? I hope Marvel reprints the Uncanny X-Men Volume 2. Also, others like War of Kings Aftermath, Realm of Kings, and JMS Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2. Yes, I agree with all of those. Uncanny X-Men Volume 2 is a great volume. That has I think that's the Dark Phoenix Saga and Days of Future Past, which is our two huge stories. So that's a huge volume too. It's kind of like the Lee Kirby Fantastic Four Volume 2, which I think is the best volume of that set. War of Kings Aftermath, for sure. That's the only one I'm missing. I have the first 4 volumes, I guess, in that 5-volume saga. So I'm hoping Aftermath for sure gets reprinted in the JMS Volume 2. So Omar over at Near Make Edition, since he has such a connection with Marvel, every year he does a Most Wanted omnibus reprint poll and a Most Wanted Epic Collection reprint poll for both those lines, I guess. And Marvel like honors those quite a bit. Like I think last year they had the top 25 Most Wanted omnibus reprints, and I think all but 2 of them got reprinted. So that's the only reason I'm bringing that up is because I think JMS Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2 made it on the list this year. I know War of Kings didn't because I was really upset by that. I thought for sure that would make it, especially with the War of Kings omnibus that just got reprinted a few weeks back. That didn't make the list. I hope they still reprint it. And then that's the thing too. It's like Marvel doesn't only reprint things from that list. They do. They just take it into consideration and they reprint a bunch of other stuff. And then Uncanny X-Men Volume 2. I don't know if that made it on the list. But that's one I'm sure that'll be reprinted. That one's like Marvel knows that those Uncanny X-Men volumes, especially those early ones, are really popular. And they keep those. Like Volume 1, I think, has been reprinted 5 or 6 times. So I'm sure Volume 2 will be reprinted. Real American Brian, thank you for joining us. Yes, the finally. I think it's like I said. I think it came out or supposed to come out in October, and then got pushed back to next week. Oh hell yeah! Finally, it's almost here. Yes, everybody's excited about Spider-Man 2099. And Superior Spider-Man. Yes, that one comes out this summer, I believe. First time joining live. Well, thank you, Richard. I appreciate that. I think we also passed 200 subscribers finally. I know I keep preaching about that. It's been hard to develop a following on the CGN YouTube channel because I just started it like from scratch, 0 subs a couple months ago. And YouTube doesn't really placate well to if you're only doing live shows, but that's pretty much all we've done. So it's been pretty great that we've been able to get over 200 subs, and I appreciate everyone subscribing. Larry's Library. Hey man, I've talked to you on OmniDogs streams before. I'm glad. I think this is your first time joining us live too. I've noticed a lot of titles as you special order. A certain competitor shows as in stock, but if you order, it takes them a week plus ship. I appreciate your honest listings. Yes, Larry, I'm not gonna bring up the competition because I don't want to punch down, if you will. But I will say that we are very specific about that at CGN. We list it as special order if we don't have it physically in the warehouse. But it will only say special order if we know that we can't order it from the distributor. So if anything is listed as special order, all that means is that Max has to order it from the distributor. And then when it gets into the warehouse, into our hands, we can ship it to you guys. So really, it's just a tip for you guys to know that it might take a little bit longer, if you will. I know some other websites don't do that. So that it's just kind of like a guess if it's going to come to you in a certain amount of time. But yeah, I like that CGN lists it. I guess as you said, honestly, like that, because our warehouse is only so big. We can't just fill it with books and keep them in stock as much. But Max is really good about knowing what is available to order through the distributor. And one tip too, I will say, is that the wish list feature is super helpful at CGN. It's one of the coolest things of our website, I think, that we have, because if you add a book to your wish list, if it's out of print, for instance, or you can even just do new books before they come out, you can add them to your wish list. And the minute that we get them in stock or available to order, you'll get an email alerting you saying like, hey, this book that was on your wish list can be ordered now. So it's super helpful with out of print books if they come into print. Like I said, Max is always on top of those things, like especially if it's like with DC books a lot, because DC doesn't really announce their reprints or restocks. They just kind of happen under the radar a lot. So, which I guess they have been announcing a few of the reprints for omnibuses when they say like 2023 edition. But regardless, Max is really on top of those things of like knowing when they come into available for him to order. So he'll update those on the website, and then you get the email alert. And also, if it's like a new book coming out, you'll want to know when it actually comes out, because sometimes people don't pay attention to all the changes in the schedules and whatnot. So if you just like look through the pre-order catalog and add a bunch of books to your wish list, you'll get the email alert when they're ready to be ordered. So you don't have to just keep constantly looking at the website dates and whatnot. So thank you, Larry, for joining us. It's a little spiel I wanted to go on. I did purchase the new X-Men omnibus from the Nick and Dent on CGN yesterday. Had to grab that when I saw it. Yes, that's a great omnibus. So good on you to pick that one up. I have done special order buys, and it took 1 to 2 weeks to get to the warehouse. I live far away. Normally it takes 2 to 3 weeks for stuff to get to me, so I have a lot of patience. Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like of course I want my books to come in the next, tomorrow. You always love that impulse purchase with the impulse delivery, if you will. But there's so many books on my to read list in my collection too. Like I've learned to grow patience with that and just be like, yeah, if it's on special order, I'll get it in a few weeks. I have all these other books I need to read anyways. So yeah, it's just it's a game of patience, but that's something we all of us collectors have to learn, right? Thanks for the chat though. Keep filling up the chat. I love talking to you guys. So the first cover here is the direct market variant by Fern, and this is both covers are going to be $89.99, which will be 40% off if you order through CGN. And they say out of stock right now. All these books will, but come Monday, whenever we get that, whenever they go live, which I'll make a post about on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The second they go live, I always make a post. It'll say add to cart, so just ignore the out of stock part right now. But this is the DM cover, and this collects the entirety of that first run of Spider-Man 2099, all 46 issues, plus the crossover with all the other 2099 titles like Ravage, and X-Men, and Doom, and Punisher. And then there will be a volume 2 coming out, which collects the later series of 2099. But if you just want that 90s era 2099 action, this is the only volume you'll need. So that's the direct market variant, which is that just means those covers are exclusive to the direct market, which is comic book shops. And CGN is technically a comic book shop, even though it's an online retailer. And then the standard edition cover, which I'm showing you now, those will be available everywhere. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and the comic book shops and whatnot. And this is the cover to that first issue. It won't have a foil cover around the border, unfortunately. That's been confirmed by Omar, but it will have the look of that. And this is the famous run by Peter David, and Rick Leonardi does the majority of the artwork. I don't know if he does all 46 issues or not, but this was a line that Marvel came out with in the 90s where all these stories take place in, as you can see, the year 2099. So they had like Spider-Man and X-Men. They had Doom, Punisher. Fantastic Four had a mini series where they time traveled to 2099. So some of the characters are like, the 2099 era. Like this is Miguel O'Hara. It's not Peter Parker. And then some of the characters like Fantastic Four like actually time travel. So those will both be $89.99. Up next, we have the Art of Horizon Forbidden West Deluxe Edition hardcover slipcase. This is by Guerrilla Games. This is a video game art book. If you're into that video game, Horizon Forbidden West. And this is just the deluxe edition slipcase. The regular hardcover version we'll see that listed a little bit later. So the deluxe edition slipcase will be $69.99, which is a savings of 30% off if you order through CGN. Then we have a big hardcover coming out. This is the Invincible Compendium Volume 2 hardcover. Volume 1 came out earlier this year or late last year. I can't remember. But these are hardcovers. So Invincible has been reprinted in a number of different formats, like regular trade paperbacks, compendium trade paperbacks, oversized hardcovers, library editions for the first part of the series. But the compendiums, which, if you're familiar with the compendium format, Image and DC both do compendiums, and they're both pretty much the same thing, which is just a big fat trade paperback that's like 700 to 1,100 pages of comics. So it's like a real huge volume. The Invincible ones, so they're published or they're printed, and they've been reprinted and kept in stock in those fat trade paperbacks of 3 volumes that collect the whole series. Those have been in print for like the entirety that the series has existed. The hardcovers, though, were an exclusive originally for the Skybound web store. Like Skybound's the Robert Kirkman's imprint with Image. But then last year, early this year, whenever Volume 1 came out, was the first time that it's been released as a compendium hardcover and released to the masses, I guess, where it's available to order through all comic book shops and whatnot. This is, and these are standard size. So they're standard size. It's a standard size hardcover, but it collects like 1,200 pages of stuff, I think. It's issues 48 through 96, plus a couple more. So it's like 50 issues. So there's 50 issues in this one hardcover, and it's a fat hardcover, but they're nicely built, and they look really nice on the shelf. But this is the famous superhero series. It's been put on Amazon for an animated series as well. Amazon Prime. Written by Robert Kirkman, artwork by Ryan Otley and Corey Walker. And this has a cover price of $99.99. But if you order through CGN, you can save 30% off at $69.97. That'll be out next week. All right, we got a couple more. Oh, Richard's coming in again. I'm learning patience when purchasing Omni books because I see items on Amazon and they are higher than normal most of the time. I have to remind myself that the book will eventually get reprinted. Yes, that's a thing you have to learn too. I never try, like, my goal is to never buy anything above cover price. Is always my goal as a collector. So if a book's out of print, I just keep hunting for it until I can find it for a good price. Because, like you said, they're either going to get reprinted, or if you wait long enough, you'll find one for a good price on eBay and whatnot. Or CGN if they, get some in stock. So there's no reason to buy it over cover price. So I agree. It's all a patience game. Also excited to see Across the Spider-Verse coming out next month. I'm a huge Spider-Man. Yes, I'm excited to see that as well. I think it's going to be Guardians of the Galaxy was my most anticipated movie of the year. But I think this one might be my second. I love animated movies. You know anything about the Dreadstar signed hardcover edition that came and went Monday, Tuesday? What was there, like 100 copies? I'm still salty for missing that. Larry, that is actually on our listings here in a little bit. Let me see. And I don't have a lot of information on it, but it's here. It says it's going to come out next week on our listings. And it's listed as $22.49. I'm just going to go and I'll skip the line since you asked, and I'll show it to you here. We don't have a cover for it though. That's weird. But yeah, it's from Dynamite, and these are the reason why I don't know. I need to look more into this because I didn't realize that Dynamite was going to be reprinting these, because Dreadstar was printed through a Kickstarter and sold on like Jim Starlin's website or through a smaller publisher that worked with Jim Starlin. I forget the name of it, but they had like the box set. But this is like the first 12 issues. And it's got 400 pages of art and story, it says. And it says a signed edition, and it's a hardcover. It doesn't say volume 1 on it, though. So I need to look more into this. and see what the deal is as far as uh if they're going to do more, if this is like a one-off thing that they're just doing for those first 12 issues. I wonder if I can um you know what? I'm actually talking to a guy from Dynamite right now. He messaged me the other day on Facebook, and maybe I can ask him if they have plans for any future volumes or whatnot. I'll have to. I'm searching the website right now to see if there's anything upcoming. May. Yeah, there's no listings on Previous World for any more Dreadstar volumes coming out later. So I don't know, but apparently it's coming out next week as far as we are concerned with CGN. I don't think Max would have it on here if it was completely out of stock. He must be expecting a certain amount to be ordered. My recommendation would be to add it to your wish list so you know right away to order it when it comes in stock Monday night, because I don't know how many volumes. It could be one, it could be 25. If it's a limited number, I'm sure that Max was limited to the amount he could order, but he probably ordered enough to, meet the demand, I guess, as far as what he could order. But either way, it's gonna be a hardcover, and it's only $20 and $22.49. It's Jim Starlin. This is a series of his I've never read before. Like, I love Jim Starlin's 70s Marvel stuff, like his Adam Warlock, his Captain Marvel stuff. Like, I love that stuff. 70s Marvel in general is one of my favorite eras. But the Jim Starlin stuff in particular is great. And this is a series that I've always wanted to read. I never got the box set, so I'm very much in tune with wanting to figure this out, Larry. But I don't have any information other than that. Larry's Library agreed. I really wanted the Sergeant Fury Epic Volume 1, but refused to pay $80 plus for it, so I needed to buy an essential version for $15, and we'll wait for the eventual reprint. One, I will give you the tip. If you're looking for that Volume 1, the Kirby, this might be out of print too, but if you're searching for multiple books, the Kirby War and Romance Omnibus that came out includes like 18 issues of Sergeant Fury, because Kirby did like, I'm going to have the numbers wrong, but I think it was like issues 1 through 10 and issues 13 through 20 or something like that. Like, of those first 20 issues, Kirby did all but 2 of them, I think. So they do skip a couple of those issues that Kirby didn't do in that omnibus, but at least it's oversized and in full color, so you don't have to go the essential route. But that does have a lot of those Sergeant Fury issues in it. Like I said, I don't know if it's out of print or not. It might be more expensive than that Epic for all I know. I see it on sale Monday and it sold out on Tuesday. Yeah. From what I can tell, we're expecting some copies, Larry. That's all I can say. So stay tuned. I'd add it, like I said, add it to your wish list, and also follow us on social media, because the way it works is Max sends me a text on Monday nights whenever he has the books ready to go live. It's usually in the evening around like 6 or 7 p.m. ish. And then I have already had the post ready to go. So the minute I get the text, I just throw it up on social media for you guys to go buy them. So either the social media alert for you or the wish list alert will be able to give you the jump on being able to order this book right away. And I don't know how many copies we're getting, but at least that's a way for you to get the jump on it, if that helps at all. So yeah, that's Dreadstar. It's gonna be a signed edition, and it's the first 12 issues, and it's a hardcover by Dynamite Entertainment, which is exciting. I hope if they have the publishing rights to Dreadstar, I hope they keep pumping these out in a number of different formats and whatnot. That's a really strong book to have the license of from Dynamite. Like, I know Dynamite carry a lot of licensed books, and that's a really cool one for them to kind of add some diversity to their catalog. All right, let's go back up here a little bit. We did the Invincible Compendium. Then we have the Marvel Masterworks, the Avengers Volume 23. We have 2 different covers for this one. Let me get my second screen going again. Okay. And this is the Roger Stern, Al Milgrom era of the Avengers. It includes issues 236 through 245, plus Annual 13, plus Hawkeye 1 through 4. So this is a thicker Masterworks. It looks like sometimes they only include like 10 to 12 issues. This one looks to be including about 14, 15 issues ish. If you include the annual, how those are usually bigger sized. And this is the direct market variant, which has the volume number 342 on the side of it, because this is the 342nd Marvel Masterworks that's coming out. The other cover with the silver border around it is just the Avengers line. So it'll just say volume 23 on the side. And both of those will be $44.99 if you order through CGN next week. Then we have the Roy Rogers Comics, The Best of John Buscema hardcover from Hermes Press. This is a book that I didn't even know was coming out. Hermes Press does a lot of cool older reprints. Like one of my favorite books that I have in my collection is the Jack Kirby, Wally Wood, Dave Wood, Sky Masters of the Space Force. And that's like the daily strips that Kirby did, like leading up right up into the time that he did Fantastic Four, which is pretty crazy because like Sky Masters of the Space Force is like this sci-fi kind of daily epic comic strip that Kirby was doing, which is one of his goals in his career, was always to do daily strips. And that book, which I think is out of print, but I did see, little tip, I did see the softcover version was on the Nick and Dent sale for CGN. I don't know if it's still there or not. I can look, but it is still there. Or if it is still there, it's worth buying. Because it's just cool to see Kirby working like a daily strip. And then you have Wally Wood inking over him, which is amazing. Like the fact that you don't see a lot of artwork that's Wally Wood inking over Jack Kirby. But it informs a lot of what you'd see with kind of like the space adventures that Kirby would do with the Fantastic Four. Sky Masters is a little bit more straightforward, like astronaut kind of stuff. It's not so much science fiction, if you will, but the artwork itself kind of informs that. But yes, Hermes Press did that book. And then they're also doing this Roy Rogers book, which normally Roy Rogers wouldn't be something I'd be interested in. But the fact that it's the best of John Buscema. John Buscema is an amazing artist. He did the like How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way book. So he is kind of like, he kind of developed a house style for Marvel on how to draw their superheroes in comic books. He developed it from like Kirby's blueprint, if you will, like Kirby and Ditko's blueprint. But then he developed like his own style. It was a little bit more polished and easier to mimic, I guess, than Kirby and Ditko was. But he's just an amazing, incredible artist. And this says it includes 272 pages of action-packed Roy Rogers King of the Cowboys comics, specially selected by Roy's son, Dusty. So that's a book I'm interested in. I do love Western comics if they have an artist like of the name of John Buscema attached to him. Like John Severin's Western comics are great too. But this will come out next weekend. It's $44.99 if you order through CGN. That's a hardcover. And then we have the Art of Horizon Forbidden West hardcover. This is without the slipcase. And it looks like the slipcase comes with some extra ephemera and stuff, like some maybe art pieces, art prints. But this is just a stripped down, just the hardcover. And it'll be $34.99 if you order through CGN next week. Stop in the chat for a minute. Thanks. Added to the wish list. Awesome, Larry. Let me know how that goes for you. I hope that you're able to get one of those copies. Hoping one day Atlantis Attacks Omnibus, Secret Wars 2 Omnibus, and the Evolutionary War Omnibus get reprinted as well. Those are some, at least the first and third one you listed there, some more of the obscure titles that I don't know if a lot of people, I don't know if there's a lot of demand for them, I guess. But Secret Wars 2, I could definitely see that being reprinted, especially off the backs of the Secret Wars Omnibus that came out, the reprint that came out last year. Last year? Yeah. But Evolutionary War and Atlantis Attacks, I don't know. The only reason I say I don't know if they'll be reprinted soon is because I don't think the demand is there. But maybe. I mean, Marvel always surprises me with what they reprint. What was your first omnibus? And are you excited about James Gunn running DC Studios? I can't wait to see what he does with it, especially after he handled Guardians trilogy. There's a lot here. Okay. My first omnibus I ever bought was The Fourth World by Jack Kirby. So I spent a few years out of comics. I've read comics my entire life. My older brother, who's Real American Brian in the chat, got me into comics when I was a young kid. Like I was trying to read them even before I could read. So I read comics like my entire life. My teenage years was like probably the most I read comics. But then my early 20s to mid 20s, I had some years where I didn't read comics at all. just kind of out of the comics game for whatever reason. And then I jumped back in 5 or 6 years ago at this point. I jumped back in, and that's when I started discovering all these omnibus channels on YouTube and whatnot in the omnibus format. And I love the idea of having one big story in one book in like a big, nice hardcover. And as I was exploring which one I wanted to try out, the idea of having the entire saga of Jack Kirby's Fourth World in one omnibus, even though it's like a 1,500 pager, like that's a fat book, just really intrigued me. So that was my first one I bought, and I bought it used from somebody on a Facebook group, and then I've been in it ever since. I have too many omnibuses. They're overtaking the house. And then yes, I'm so excited about James Gunn. I love everything James Gunn's ever done. I love the Suicide Squad. The Guardians trilogy is one of my favorite trilogies ever, to be honest, but definitely my favorite part of the MCU. And then and that includes everything that James Gunn touched too, like the holiday special and his roles in the Infinity War in Endgame that he had. So I totally trust in James Gunn. I love the fact that James Gunn's using comics also to advertise the DC Studios properties. That's one thing I always say. I think the biggest mishap with the MCU is that they didn't create enough comic book fans. They had all these billion-dollar movies at the box office, but they didn't really bring people into comic book shops from it. They brought some, sure, but they should have brought a lot more by tying those things together. Like, you like this movie, buy this exact book, kind of thing. James Gunn's doing that a little bit with his DC stuff, and I love that as well. Because ultimately, I'm going to love comics more than I love the movies. But that doesn't mean I don't like the movies and I'm not excited about them. So I'm absolutely excited for James Gunn and what he does with DC. I hope it adds a lot of competition for the MCU, and I hope that Marvel kind of steps their game up too. I'm not a detractor. I don't think a lot of the Marvel studio stuff lately has been like awful, like some people think. There's been it's been a little bit of a dip, but I feel like they're recreating what they are as far as like what they're doing. So like Endgame was like definitely an end point, and now they're rebuilding from there. And what I keep telling my friends is that like there's so much MCU stuff, it's just too much. And to me, a lot of it kind of mirrors what the Marvel comics did. If you look at Marvel comics in the 60s, it was like those fans in the 60s were buying every issue of everything Marvel put out. But they weren't missing a single issue. And then by the time the 70s rolled around, Marvel was just flooding the shelves with content on the comic book racks. And then fans couldn't buy everything else. They couldn't, so they had to pick and choose which one they liked the most, or what properties they like the most, which ones they want to follow. That's kind of how I feel the MCU is developing, is that like now it's getting to the point where fans have to pick and choose which TV shows and movies they're going to pick. And that's not a bad thing. It's just that not everything's going to be for everybody, I guess. It's my little soapbox rant for the day. Up next, we have Trigor Labyrinth, hardcover from Fantagraphics Books. This is like an art book, and it's listed as a psychedelic heavy metal monster mix and match art book. And it's not just Matt Fury, it's also Skinner and Will Sweeney. I was trying to look this up. It's kind of like, it looks like it's one of those like those books that kids have where you can mix and match the faces, like you can flip the eyes differently and then the nose and then the mouth kind of thing. I think it's one of those kinds of books. I can't really tell from the description on Fantagraphics. I will tell you the art looks amazing, but it's not exactly sequential comic books. Like there's not a lot of there's not gonna be panels and story in here. I think it's just a bunch of different cool psychedelic looking monsters, but a cool book nonetheless. That'll be $29.99, and it'll be on sale next Monday. Then we have Spider-Man Epic Collection Maximum Carnage. This is a big one because it includes the entirety of the Maximum Carnage story, the big story from the 90s. And this is a reprint of that. So it'll be $23.99 if you order through CGN next week. And I always give the warning that Omar gives people as well, is that these reprints of the Epic Collections get smaller print runs. So brand new Epic Collections get like they never say how many, but it gets an X amount of volume or X amount of copies that are printed. The reprints always have a smaller number. So if it's a reprint that you're looking for, don't hesitate on those kinds of things. Make sure you order those, quite quickly if you can. Judge Dredd Complete Case Files Volume 19 trade paperback. Is this a reprint? It's got to be a reprint because I think they're in volume like 30 by now. This does include Mark Miller and Grant Morrison's writing. So if it's a reprint, those are two reasons to reprint it and keep it in stock for sure. That'll be $23.19 if you order through CGN. Then we have Gervon, A Dream of Earth from Humanoids. This is looks like a sci-fi epic. It'll be $19.99 if you order through CGN. It's explore the distant stars in the rare translation and adaptation of legendary French science fiction writer P.J. Herault Gervon in English for the first time. So this is the first time it's ever been printed in English. So that's pretty cool. I love some good Humanoids books. We talked about that on the past streams before. Collected Topi, Volume 9. So these Collected Topi books by Magnetic Press. I'm collecting all of Sergio Topi's comics, I guess. They've been pumping this out, and obviously they're on Volume 9. This will only be $18.73. These are oversized, and they are hardcovers. I've never picked any of these up, but I'm always intrigued to. It's just one of those rabbit holes that I haven't gone down yet. The art looks amazing. If you collect these, let me know in the chat if I need to go down the rabbit hole. I should start trying to hunt these down. Then we've got Batman Urban Legends Volume 5 trade paperback. These Urban Legends, the Urban Legends series has been like a anthology of sorts. You can see all the different creator names on there. Joey Esposito, Brandon Thomas, Chris Burnham, Alberto Albuquerque, Jimenez, Chris Burnham, Hayden Sherman. So just a ton of people. It'll be $17.99, and it is a trade paperback. It'll be 40% off. It doesn't say which issues it collects, though. I think they collect about 5 or 6 issues, if I remember. But they are anthologies, so like this, each issue I think is a different story. 20th Century Men. This is not a sequel to the 20th Century Boys manga, I will tell you that. This is the Image comic series by Denise Camp and Stepan Morian. And this collects, it doesn't say volume 1 though. So is this a one and done? It does collect 20th Century Men issues 1 through 6. I will say that. And it is $17.49. Then we have Red Tag trade paperback from Dark Horse Comics with Raphael Albuquerque and Raphael Scavone and Roger Cruz on the creative team. This will be $16.09. And is it just a graphic novel? It doesn't say which issues it collects. But that is a series I have not read before. We have Poison Ivy Volume 1, The Virtuous Cycle hardcover. So this will be a standard size hardcover. The writer is G. Willow Wilson of the famous, critically acclaimed, in the series that I love, the original Ms. Marvel series, with the original Kamala Khan series. G. Willow Wilson wrote that one. But this is her take on Poison Ivy and includes issues 1 through 6 in a standard size hardcover for $14.99. Blood Syndicate Season 1 hardcover. This is the return, one of the returns, I guess, of the Milestone imprint for DC Comics. And this will be a standard size hardcover. The writer is Jeffrey Thorne, and Chris Cross is the artist. And it includes issues 1 through 6 of Season 1. DC Pride, the New Generation hardcover. This will be a standard size hardcover for $11.99. It does have a story written by Kevin Conroy, the tragically and recently passed Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman in the animated series. Include and a lot of other people too. Alyssa Wong, Devin Grayson, Brittany Williams, Zoe Thorogood is on art. And that'll include the Tim Drake special number 1 and Batman Urban Legends number 4 through 6 and 10. So it's part of the DC Pride collection. Then we have Briar trade paperback volume 1. This is from Boom Studios. Christopher Cantwell and Herman Garcia is on the art. What if Sleeping Beauty never got her happily ever after and had to save herself instead? 100 years after Briar Rose first fell into her slumber. Collects Briar 1 through 4. It's a dark fantasy adventure. That'll be 11/24 if you order through CGN. We got another question here. Tossing and turning about Extreme X-Men Omnibus Volume 1. What are your thoughts on that omnibus? I have not read it, so I don't have a lot of thoughts. That's the Chris Claremont's return to the X-Men. I will say that Omar from Near Mint Condition, who is like one of the resident experts, if you will, lives and breathes X-Men. He said he enjoys it, but he thinks he enjoys it more than most. I know the consensus is that the omnibus is either all right, or a lot of Claremont devotees enjoy it quite a bit. But I don't know if anybody's ever said it's as good as Chris Claremont's original initial 17-year run. So I maybe try out some digitally on Marvel Unlimited if it's on there. Maybe try out some issues on there first, and then see if you want to dive into it. I've not read it, or else I would give you my personal opinion, and I don't want to steer you wrong. And I'll always give you my honest opinion. I don't want to just say like, "Oh, it's great, please buy it." So I've not read it, but I because the opinion on it's so up and down with people. Some people either love it, or some people are like, "Yeah, it's not very good." I'd say maybe try out some of the issues digitally first and see if it's your thing. If you love Claremont's X-Men, then maybe you'll enjoy it. Then we have Hitomi. This one looks great. I've not heard of this, but this is from Image Comics. H.S. Tak is the writer, and Isabella Mazzanti is the artist. It's only $11.19 and includes Hitomi 1 through 5. I don't even remember this coming out last year, or if it did come out last year. But it includes all 5 issues. It's a must-read revenge tale. But this is the thing that gets me intrigued, is that it says, combining the historical sweep and elegance of Kurosawa with the visceral action of Tarantino. Kurosawa is like one of the all-time great film directors, and Quentin Tarantino, I'm a big fan of. I love his grindhouse kind of take on things. So those two names being attached to this as like the blurb, I'm intrigued. I want to read this for sure. That'll be 11/19 coming out next week. Spider-Man Deadly Neighborhood, trade paperback. Oh, I didn't. Okay, so this is a new series, right? No, it's by B. Earl Taboo and Juan Ferreira. What era is this? Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man 1 through 5. Revolutionary dark take on Spider-Man. What is reality and what is a dream? Includes the Demon Bear from like New Mutants fame. Let me know if you've read this in the chat. I've not read this. It is a newer series, I know that, but is it not part of the current Spider-Man continuity? Is it just like a one-off miniseries, like Life Story was? But that'd be 1079. Then we have Immortal X-Men by Kieran Gillen, Volume 2 trade paperback. So this is Kieran Gillen on X-Men, like the current Hoxpox Krakoa era of X-Men, I guess. This includes Immortal X-Men 7 through 10 by Kieran Gillen. Oh, we have a new arrival here. I have arrived. Low hit. Nice. Must watch. Or oops, read. Well, bye. But tell me if art is good. Okay, so you haven't read it. I don't remember that series coming out. Was it do you remember the series coming out last year, Low hit? I know you're a Wednesday warrior that buys your single issues every week. I don't remember seeing that on the racks last year, and I do visit the comic book shop. I stopped reading modern Spidey ages ago. They can't seem to nail the character, I'm assuming you're saying. Yeah, there's a lot of controversy with Spider-Man in the news this week. I don't know. Yep, last year. I don't know if I would really want to talk about that, especially if there's people in the chat that haven't seen the spoilers for, what is it, issue 26 coming out of the Zeb Wells run. I don't know. I have nothing to say. Punisher War Journal. This is by Torin Gronbeck, which I will say, a little plug. Omar from Near Mint Condition will be interviewing Torin Gronbeck today at 6 p.m. Eastern over at Near Mint Condition. So if you want to ask Torin about this run, she will be on his channel. This is Punisher War Journal. It looks to be in the Jason Aaron era of Punisher, but includes Punisher War Journal Blitz, Punisher War Journal Brother, and Punisher War Journal Base. But he's got the Jason Aaron era skull on his chest, so I'm assuming it's a spin-off of that. Lan Medina is on the art. That'd be $9.59. Star Wars Volume 5 Path to Victory. That'd be $9.59. And we're going to finish with Peter Parker and Miles Morales Spider-Man Double Trouble trade paperback. This is by Mariko Tamaki and Vita Ayala. And then Gurihiru, I can't say that, is the artist. This will be $8.39, and I believe this will be like digest sized. It includes Spider-Man Double Trouble 1 through 4, and then Spider-Man and Venom Double Trouble number 1. The reason why I want to highlight this is because these are great books for kids. I read the Thor and Loki Double Trouble, and I think it was Spider-Man Venom Double Trouble that I read with my son, and he loved them. And I think they're great too. Like, they're just fun kids comics, and the artwork is a lot of fun too. And it's only $8.39. It's a cheap price to enjoy some comics with your kids. So yeah, these Double Trouble series, I would definitely recommend for kids. If you have some young ones in your life that you want to get into comics, whether they be children of yours or nieces and nephews or what have you. So that's all the releases for the week. Let me stop sharing my screen. Torrance Thor is awesome. She's also doing Red Sonja. Oh, currently she's doing Red Sonja. Is that interesting? I'm curious to read that. Torrin Grumbeck, I haven't read her Thor before, but I keep hearing great things about it. One thing I am excited about, though, is that they just announced Al Ewing is doing Immortal Thor. And I think they described it as like, if Immortal Hulk was the Old Testament, Immortal Thor is the New Testament. I think they described it as in biblical terms. But I loved Immortal Hulk. I read the first 20 issues, waiting for the omnibus to come out to finish it. I love everything about that series. So Al Ewing being on Immortal Thor is just an amazing proposition. I'm excited to see Thor get a long ongoing series, which I think Al Ewing will be in the long run for the long haul. He did like 50 issues for Immortal Hulk, so hopefully he does, around the same for Thor, because Thor was so attached to Jason Aaron before, and that runs great too. But since then he had like Donny Cates and then Torrin Grunbeck, kind of hopping around a little bit. So now I love Thor. He's a great character. So I like to see him have like a steady run that goes on for a long time. And Al Ewing's a great writer. So, but yeah, that's all the releases for next week. If you have any more questions, throw them in the chat while I do the plugs here, and then I'll address those before I cut off the stream. Well, here we go. I hope Deadpool Spider-Man series gets a hardcover omnibus one day. That was a fun and entertaining series. That'd be great. I know it's getting a modern era epic collection. I think two volumes have been announced so far. Let me see. I know at least one has been announced for the modern era epic. I think Marvel has always told Omar that just because something's getting epic doesn't mean the omnibus it'll affect any sort of potential omnibus. But I think there's also been some epic collection people in the Facebook group. It's on like Curtis Findlay he does the Epic Marvel podcast, and he has a Facebook group where people it's insane the way people will dissect and map out all the potential epics that haven't even been announced yet. It's a great group. But I think people on there have said that based on their spreadsheets they do think that there is a difference. Whenever one thing gets an epic, it'll kind of push back the potential for an omnibus and vice versa. I'm looking on my list of epic collections, though, to see where are the modern ones. Oh, here we go. Okay, Spider-Man and Deadpool, they have one volume announced. Okay. Volume 1, Isn't It Bromantic, which will collect issues 1 through 14 and then 17 through 18. And that's due out in October. So I don't know if that'd affect the possibility of an omnibus coming up, but that'd be great. I do want to read that series. I've heard nothing but good things about it. It's on my list of epics to buy. Any more questions while I do the plugs here, but please follow us on Twitter and Instagram at CheapGN. That's where I post all the announcements, all the books that are on sale, any sort of sales we have, that kind of stuff. And then on Facebook, search for Cheap Graphic Novels. Please subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up. I don't think I said that yet or not. Share this with your friends. I saw Juan, you shared this on your social media last week, and I appreciate that. Share this, the fact that this channel exists on your social medias. That's like the best way you can support the channel, and it doesn't cost you a dime. Just post it on your social media. Let's try to get this channel growing a little bit so these live chats can be interactive like they are. Great chat today. So many people. Thank you, Richard and Larry, for joining for the first time. I hope to see you in the future on future streams. And everybody else that's been here a few times, Low Hit and Juan. Who else am I missing? Real American Brian, Rodimus Prime. Thank you all guys for joining us again in the chat. I've seen you guys here before. And then subscribe to the weekly newsletter as well. So thank you guys. It's been great. I hope you guys have a great day. Keep reading comics. See you next time.